Hi everyone, Krista Cowan here with another episode of the Barefoot Genealogist. Let me just start right off with a few apologies. My mother would be mortified that I'm doing that, but I just have had some scheduling issues and some technical issues lately, and so I just really want to apologize for that. I'm working to get some of that taken care of. So thank you to Anne for covering for me last Thursday. I did run the regularly scheduled program from Thursday on Friday morning, but I just checked live stream and it looks like it didn't archive appropriately. So I do have a copy of that on my local hard drive. We'll see what we can do about getting that uploaded to YouTube in the next day or two. Also, today I've had some scheduling issues. I didn't get into town. I was out of town and didn't get home until well after midnight last night, and went to touch bases with Lisa Lee this morning so that she could join us for a discussion about African American research, and she has some excellent things planned for us, but she and I have not been able to connect, and that's entirely my fault for being out of town. So we will reschedule that discussion with her. So hopefully if you're here for that, feel free to stick around. We're going to talk about some search things that are going to be really applicable regardless of what or where you're researching. But our discussion with Lisa Lee is going to be postponed. Hopefully if I get a hold of her, we can do it either later today or tomorrow. But watch the Facebook page and we'll keep you up to date on that. So with those apologies out of the way, and really I'm very sorry about them, I will try to get things a little bit more together. We're going to talk just briefly today about some search things. I did a search presentation several weeks ago and received several questions in chat immediately following the presentation, and have received dozens more questions in our Ask email. So just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page with search and that some of your specific needs are being addressed so that the search results that you're getting are giving you what you need to help find more about your family. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in. I haven't prepared a slide presentation. We're actually going to go directly to the website. I finally learned how to make my website large, so hopefully you can see it. So the search box that is going to be on your home page, one of the first things you're going to want to do is make sure that you're looking at the advanced search box. So let me just toggle here a little bit. If your search box looks like this is just the basic search, which we provide for all new people who are coming to the website so that we don't overwhelm them. We just want you to dive in and start searching and see what comes up. But if you've done a search or two, or if you're looking for something specific, make sure that you click this Show Advanced. That gives you a more complete search form. One of the other things that it does is that it also provides you with full control over how you search. So one of the questions that I get asked repeatedly is, if I'm searching for someone who was born in a particular place, why am I getting results all over the map? So if you know that your person was born in Virginia and you put that in, maybe they moved to Georgia over the course of their life, maybe they even lived in another place. You can add as many of those as you want. What you're going to see here when I click search are a couple of things. The first thing that I want to point out when you get to your search results is this. If your search results look like this, meaning it's the ranked search and you have your categories over here on the side and you've got your search results kind of all mixed up, and really they're not mixed up, they're based on a priority. Let me see if I can make this a little larger as well. There we go. Really they're not all mixed up, they're based on a priority or a rank based on the information that you provided us. One of the things that I do is I look at this list, but I usually don't go through more than just a page or two, just to kind of see what comes up near the top. One of the things I very quickly do is switch this right here where it says View to Summarize by Category. What that does is it provides me a list of things based on the database rather than based on the ranking. okay? Now, one of the things that you're going to notice here, remember we searched for someone who was born in Virginia and lived in Georgia and Tennessee, is we have some stuff from England here. Now, we just provide you with anywhere where this name or birth date or place come up. And so sometimes some of the pieces of information match, sometimes all of the pieces of information match. But in family history, we've learned that very rarely does every single piece of information you enter match the document that you're looking for. And so we provide you with pieces. So my guess is if I were to dig into this London records, I'd find a William Johnson born in 1806. So if you want to restrict it to just a specific location, there are some things you can do, okay? The very first thing that I would recommend is scroll all the way down to the bottom of the search box, and you have this collection priority. You can then select one of two things, either a location or an ethnicity. So we have 3 ethnicities, Jewish, African American, and Native American. So if you want to search just Native American records or have those come to the top of your search results, or just African American records, you can select that. And what it does is, instead of, if you select African American, for example, instead of having to put in a race of black and then redo the same search with the race of colored, and then redo the same search with the race of Negro, and then redo, right? Do you see what I'm saying? Like, different records would have recorded the race different at different periods of time. And so rather than having to do the same search and rotate through all of those racial variations for African American, you can just select African American and we will do that for you. We'll pull in all of those variations. Now, if you want to be location specific, you can do that. Unfortunately, at this time, we can't do both. We can't say African American in the United States or Jewish in Germany or whatever, okay? So go ahead and select a location, and then there's this tiny little checkbox underneath it that says show only records from these collections. So if I've selected United States and I check this box, now when I do that exact same search, you're going to notice that all I see are databases for U.S. records. All of the databases for other locations have been completely removed from my search results. That's the first thing to do, okay? The second thing that you can do is when you come in here, if you know that you're looking for somebody in a specific location, play with the filters. Get to know, and I say play with them. There's a very specific way they work, but one of the things that I have discovered is that if you explore a little bit, if you try a search one way and see what happens, and then try a search another way and see what happens, you're more likely to remember it. You're more likely to use it than if I just say do this and then do this and then do this. So go explore or play with the filters. Every single field has them. Right? So I could say, match everything exactly. Only show me men who are listed as William Johnson, who were born in exactly 1806 in Virginia. I'd probably have to remove Georgia and Tennessee from my lived in because, well, or at least one of them, because you cannot live exactly in 2 places simultaneously. But when I match all terms exactly, that's great if I want to see specifically what comes up with those parameters. But what happens if in the census record his name was written just as WM, or he was called Bill? Well, by marking the given name exact, you've eliminated all of those variations. And what happens if on a census record, the census taker, maybe his birthday was in November of 1806, and the census taker came in April or in June, and he hadn't had his birthday yet. And so when it's calculated, it looks like maybe he was born in 1805 or 1807. Or maybe his granddaughter told the census taker how old he was, and she didn't realize that Grandpa was, really 74 years old. She thought he was 82. Okay, and so marking the birth year exact gets a little tricky. So you can, and I would encourage you to do a search or two that way to see what comes up. But keep in mind that genealogical records are very, very frequently imprecise because of the way that things are written, because of the way that things are transcribed, because of the way that they were originally shared or recorded. So if you're very concerned specifically about place, you can use either the event field for a vital statistic like birth, marriage, or death, or you can use what I like to use, which is the lived-in field. Okay? So I might not want to mark that he was born in Virginia exactly for a couple of reasons. Think about the kinds of records that you're looking for. If you're looking for a census record, it'll probably say that he was born in Virginia, maybe, but only from 1850 forward. Prior to 1850, it didn't list the birthplace of the person. So maybe what I want to do is focus on that lived-in field. Not only that, sometimes like a marriage record, if I was looking for a marriage record, it might not list the age or the birthplace at all. And so if I mark those exact, only show me records where he was born in Virginia, I've now eliminated all marriage records because they don't list a birthplace. Hopefully that makes sense. So use this lived-in field maybe a little bit more than you do and see if that doesn't control your searches a little bit better. Now, there are a couple of things I love about the lived-in field. First of all, it works. If I only want to see people who lived in Virginia or in Georgia at some point in their life, it will capture people who were born there, people who were married there, people who were living there during the census, people who enlisted in the military there, right? The key to this lived-in field is, excuse me, that if they were in that location at any time, we're going to return that as a search result if you mark that exact, okay? The other thing that I love about the lived-in field is if I don't get what I'm looking for, if I can't find what I'm looking for, there are some additional filters here. And one of them is state and adjacent states. So very often our family members, may have lived on a border of a location or may have traveled back and forth across the border. I think, at least in my experience, sometimes my family members are a lot more mobile than I would have thought they would have been at the time. I have family who, left Tennessee and went to Kentucky, and then left Kentucky and went to Missouri, and then went back to Kentucky. Things that you wouldn't think of eastward remigration, but it happens, and it happened in my family quite a bit, especially on a few branches. So sometimes the state and adjacent states will give you a little bit more flexibility if the specific state you're looking for isn't included. Now, this filter works all the way down to a specific location. So for example, if I know somebody was living in Atlanta, I'm going to select it off this list, and then you'll notice I have more filters here. So it's not just restrict to this place exactly. I can say restrict to this county. So maybe my family always said they were living in Atlanta, but maybe they weren't really. Maybe they were living just outside Atlanta. Well, I can say show me anybody living in that county. I can also say show me anybody living in that county and adjacent counties, because I've looked at a map, and even if you're living just outside Atlanta, you could be in an entirely different county. And so now by restricting to adjacent counties, I can catch those as well. So now when I click search, instead of having 6 or 8 or 10 million search results, I only have 10,000. I have sorted those into categories so that I can say, what I'm looking for really right now is the 1860 census. So I'm going to go ahead and right click on that. And this is a big trick I teach a lot. If you've spent any time with me, you know about this. Right click on the link that you're interested in and then open that in a new tab. So that way I preserve my original search results here. I don't have to keep going back and re-entering things right? And I just click up here to my new tab to see the search results specifically for the 1860 census. And then if I want to edit the search specific for this database, I can then do that, but my original search results are still over here. So here I have my 1860 search results, and then I can just do that same thing, right click, open in a new tab. Here are my 1850 search results, so I can go back and forth and compare the two, see if I'm on the right track, see if I've got the right person. I thought he was born in Virginia. Turns out it looks like he was actually born in Georgia. Where'd he go? Oh, here he is. He's at the top. So now I have an 1860 search result. I have an 1850 search result. I can go back another decade and pull up an 1840 search result for him. He was not still living in Fayette County. I can look through and see if I can find him. Then I can compare members of the household. So for example, he should in 1840 have, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 children. So there should be maybe 6 adults living in the household, maybe 5, depending on how accurate or inaccurate the records are. Maybe they had a couple of children who passed away, so maybe this is him. So I can start making some comparisons, and you'll see now I can do that because I have all of these records open in these separate tabs, and then remember, my original search results are still right here. So I could come here and see what other records I can explore. Now, that was a quick tutorial on how I use search to narrow specifically to a location, because that seems to be the question I get the most. When I search, I get all sorts of locations. That's how you narrow to a location. You select the collection priority to be the country that you're interested in, and you mark that exact or show only these results. And then you use the lived in field rather than a birth, marriage, or death field, and mark that location exact, and then play with those filters to say this county or this county and adjacent counties or this state and adjacent states to narrow down your search results. Then view your results by summarizing by category, and a couple of reasons I do that. One is so that I can make sure I've found all the records for a person and kind of march my way back through time that way. The other reason is because sometimes something like this, Georgia Returns of Qualified Voters and Reconstruction Oath Books, shows up. It would have shown up if I had viewed it the other way as well, but it would have maybe shown up further down the list because it's not as popular of a database, or it might not have as much information indexed. And so it's a neat way, this summarized by category is a neat way to sort your results in a little different view so that maybe you discover something that you hadn't thought of before. Hopefully that was helpful. Again, this works for anyone doing any kind of family history research in the U.S., out of the U.S., African American, Caucasian American, Native American. It doesn't matter. These search tips and tricks will help you to be a better researcher. If you have questions, you can email me at ask@ancestry.com with those research questions and challenges. I use those to create these presentations. So come back and watch, and maybe your question will be answered specifically. For those of you who joined us a little bit late, let me just remind you that I am working to reschedule the African American tips genealogy tips presentation with Lisa Lee, hopefully for sometime in the next day or two, but watch our Facebook page for that reschedule, and also to see all the upcoming events. I'm working on the March calendar right now, and those events for the month of March will be there shortly, so keep your eye out on that. Until next time, this is Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.